So, hey guys, I am back. Probably I'll be recording just a little bit today again, but the idea will be definitely be developing today. So, let's get back to our day plus. So, let me see where we stop it. Um, yeah, let me just delete. Oh, yeah. As I said to you guys, when you open, probably it's gonna show this reopening container or cloning volume or whatever. Um, Usually will how can I say ask you this in the as soon as you start. But if not, you can press F1 and dev container, and will be like open folder and container, rebuild and reopen a container. Any of them works. All right. So it is restarting. So yeah, um, we are here. As I said, this one should be fast. There's another way you can manage the ports as well for your system. Usually it will forward like this. If not, you can just click on forward port and you can do something like this, 8080. I think that works. No, you don't need this. It's just the ports, 2 points, and will be like this, so you can access your system through the port 8080. All right, this is something that we discussed last video, but this way is just easier to deal with. Near to the terminal, I'll just open a new terminal here in case I need. I'll delete my node modules just in case, so we can play around a little bit. I decided to change a little bit the project. We have the Webpack here. I decided to not be using the Webpack because like our services are just starting. We don't need to be getting this kind of performance. So again, I'm so sorry about this. If you guys studied about it, you're not losing anything. You should be fine about it. Okay, so I'll be just removing this. Um, so what else? The Webpack config should be gone, which is good because uh left us with less files to deal with. What else? We don't have anything here yet, just the index. Webpack is not okay, so goodbye guys. Let me see. Yes. Load. I don't know why we are using both of them. Anyway. Express TypeScript. The types for the Express. I remember they tried to include this on Express. I don't know why the types are outside. And TypeScript for Node. Let's see what we have here. So we just have our, how can I say, our index for now that will just load our express and our requests, right? The request and response, actually the types for it. And we're just sending a hello world to say, hey, I'm here. All right. So with this, you can see, let me explain what is happening here because I may went through this and never truly explained. So when we are developing, we are going to be using tons of libs And those libs, we can import them as we are doing with Express and with the types that we are using here. Those types can be created or can be, how can I say, the primitive ones like int, float, double, and so on. In this case, there's not a specific structure where this needs to exist, but usually we define our constants at the top of the page. So in this case, I'm just setting the port here in case this file grows. We can just change the port here. We are creating another constant that is our app itself that will contain our endpoints. That's the way we're gonna talk to the outside world, or the outside world will talk to us, right? So in this case, we are saying hello world. You guys might remember that we saw this on the web page when I accessed on the localhost 880. So this guy was responsible for it. If I type it here API, for example, I would have to access localhost 2.8080-API. So this is pretty much the basics. And in the end, we create our constant that will receive our app, right? That contains our requests. And of course, we're going to be moving this to another file. And then this will communicate with our business rules as well. But we're going to talk about this a little bit later. And our server now needs to be exported to be used, right? So Node.js will be looking for the index file that we set it on our package.json that our main is index, right? Also, our start will be looking for it, but we need to export a default. Um, it means that they will be kind of importing as we do here in Express. When I say import Express from Express, I'm importing the default. So the variable that I'm going to be exporting that pack everything will be the server itself. Does that make sense? So I get everything here put inside a variable called server, and I send to Node.js to be executing this. All right. I think that makes sense to you guys. Let's get it on then. So the next thing I think we need to define, it's kind of or services, or how can I say, the structure that we want to use for for our endpoints. I will create something kind of dumb right now, but I will create like a system that will receive cars and we will register them within the database. That way, we're gonna be creating a CRUD. You guys remember that I mentioned CRUD. So CRUD operations. Huh, this is funny. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, that works. CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete, right? So this usually, when you create any kind of proof of concept for backend, you're going to be creating a CRUD. So most people say, oh, start by creating the read so you know that the data that you're going to read. Most people actually start by this. I think that is wrong. I think the first one needs to be create data so you can deal with the business rules of creating and manipulating the data beforehand. So um, you can make sure that any subsequent change you make will be dealing with the right kind of data. Um, so with that, um, I think we can start creating a little bit our types. Since we are working with TypeScript, it's important to create types. Because for example, here, even though I have request, I could decide that this is any, and it would not throw any kind of error. If I keep this like that, it would throw an error because it needs, hey, It's declared, its value, it's never used. Okay, it's not a problem because you're not using here the rack, only the res. But for parameter is also saying that implicitly has an any type, which means that we are just using JavaScript without TypeScript, because TypeScript really brings us the chance to use requests as it is. But what is the benefit of doing this? If I am opening a response, for example, and I need to know what to use, this would allow me to, of course, I don't have that much IntelliSense here. Let me see if I have Node.js IntelliSense. Yes, yes, that's what I need. I forgot to add the IntelliSense. There's any other thing for TypeScript? Huh, Microsoft has its own stuff. That's cool. Clara e salgada. Caminho, molho, peço uma tonelada. Sabor de mar. Pode ser discreto. Inquilina da dor, morada preta. Yeah, I'm listening to music. Sorry, guys. E manda desespero. E volta esperança.
Vermes imundanas e o
E o
espinho da
espinho da
flor,
flor,
cruel que
cruel que
você
você
ama,
ama,
amante do
amante do
drama,
drama,
vem pra
vem pra
minha
minha
cama por
cama por
querer.
querer.
Sem me
Sem me
perguntar, me
perguntar, me
fez
fez
sofrer. E
sofrer.
eu que me julguei forte, e eu
E
que
o
me
que me
senti.
senti. Sorry, guys. But it's just a good music um, that talks about, like, you said that men don't cry. Come on, man. Even Chris cried. Yeah, it's just hood music, but yeah, playing around with you guys. So yeah, let's see if IntelliSense installed. Yep, will allow me to use it already. Probably need to reopen the file. I don't know. Okay, I think the music might be a bit loud. All right. Anyway, I'll not be dealing with this right now. I'll just try to build something, and you guys can be follow as long as I start creating. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna be creating usually is our types. I'll put inside service, even though some people agree that should be with an infrastructure. Honestly, I don't care. I'll just create a folder called domain, and then I'll explain how. Maybe types.ts. Oh, sorry, it should be. Yep. So the types.ts, what we're gonna do is just like create a container for what we need. Let me open Chrome here. Let me open Scholar. So, what happened is when we start creating our own types, usually what we're gonna be doing is just setting, um, how can I say, hey, I'm creating a container where I'm gonna store my data, and this is for POO, right? Uh, OOP, I think it's in English. POO, I think it's Portuguese. Oriented Programming Object Programming. Jesus, for a while my brain just stopped working. But yeah, anyway, I hope I write it correctly. So, when we talk about object, and you might came across what it means, or a class or whatever. Let's talk about class. That might be easier. Usually, when we have a class, let me get another place. Oh, what I did. So usually, when we talk about class, jeez, what is that? Okay, I don't know what I did, but this is quite big. Anyway, usually when you have a, this is bugging me off. Oh, probably because it's small as fuck. Sorry. Yeah, that explains a lot. So, usually when we deal with classes, we usually deal with lots of stuff in the world. We usually classify everything we have in the world. Um, let's say we have the class animal, right? And the class animal can have pretty much everything that falls within the class animal. For example, I can fall within the class animal because I am a human, right? So usually, when you create a class or an, not talking about object, no, but usually when you create a class, you're gonna be creating a type um, of a type of something that exists, or you're doing an abstraction of the real world. Let's use people, for example, person. We have the class person. I think that's easier to explain how it works. Usually, when you create a class person or you're going to save data for the person, and you have, for example, a store where you are selling stuff, you can have two types of person. One of those person can be your client, right? And another person can be your employee, all right? And why I would need to do that, and I apologize if I'm not explaining it well, but usually when you want to register a person with a system, it's fine to get their data and not thinking about GDPR or any kind of shit like that right now. Only thinking about getting the person data. I could get their name, their birth date, and their credit card. The credit card information, right? But let's give an example. What is common to those two is just like, um, let's say name and last name, all right? Address, um, what else? I don't know, address, document ID, for example. But for the client, makes no sense, at least for the point of view of maybe payment. Let's focus only on payment with credit card to ask for bank details. So from my client, I want the credit card detail or payment details. While for my employee, I want also his bank account details so I can pay him his salary at the end of the month. All right. Also, the employee can have, for example, a discount uh, for employees that does not apply for the client. All right. So both of them are person. Both of them can have the same characteristics, and client will inherit. I don't know how to say this correctly, but there's an inheritance happening here from person to the client and from person to employee, right? An employee can be a client as well, right? And a client can be an employee, but they will be different records inside the system, all right? With them just having this in common. So I said a lot here, but in the end, what I'm saying is just like when I create an object of type employee, my system will know that every time I mention employee, only the data for employee will exist on that object. All right. So every time I register a person, that person or that object will be inserted into the database. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right. So continuing with this, we're gonna be creating in our types. As I said, we're gonna be dealing with cars. And the first thing we're gonna be creating is an interface. Um, export. Um, it could be type, but I'll do with interface for now. And I'll read later about the difference between the interface and type for TypeScript. All right. So the first thing we're gonna have, oh, this makes even easier, but I will bring just ID. And this is where I define the type and the data that's gonna exist inside my type. And this needs to reflect exactly what I have inside my database. And later on, we can talk about normalization of the database. That is an important step when you deal with database in order to avoid repeating yourself or repeating data. All right. So, yeah, I'll not keep make. I'll keep model. I'll keep year. I'll bring one thing called rating. Oh, it's one T only. That would be a number. Um, no, not put price because it's just to register if it is for sale or not. For sale, I'll not put price yet because they are just like, I don't I don't want to deal with money right now. Will be date, and I'll not put any kind of date at, not yet. All right, so this is our interface. So why did I sport car here? All right. Usually when you do create an interface, you need to export so they can be used. If you remember here in our index, I do an export here in our default server. I could, for example, comment here and do an export directly on the app listen, but just for convention, we're gonna keep that way. All right, but usually we're gonna do the export that way. You can, in the end, do a export default if someone calls these types directly, but it's not the kind of thing we're gonna be, how can I say, doing right now. All right. So that being said, this is our car, how it's gonna be existing inside our database. All right. But not our data like this is gonna be inserted and we're gonna be creating other type of interfaces here that's gonna be used as contracts. All right, we're gonna talk about this later, but this guy here is our model. All right, is the model. Oh, that's cool, but I don't need to add more than this. This find a car, use it in the application, which is cool. Um, but with that, we have our car saved. How can we think now about creating services? Um, let's think about, let me see, maybe create a car. I don't know, maybe service. Let me think. I'll pause a little bit the video so I can think of it. All right, so I think the next step should be dealing with the database, probably. Um, so I came here, didn't spend much time. You'll see that I don't spend even a minute reading this. So my idea will be using um, Prisma for our project. So I'll be installing it right now, pretty much just copying and pasting the command. It will probably beach a little bit the fact that I'm using Yarn. I don't know what it's doing, but it's messing around with my. Yep, installed a bunch of stuff here. Zero vulnerabilities, which is nice. TypeScript is initialized already. Um, let's initialize Prisma then. What is that? Jeez. Oh, we need to set Prisma init. Oh, got it. Oh, that's cool. It will create a schema. Generated Prisma. Okay, let's play with that then. I think instead of generated, maybe, I don't know, Prisma migration, because usually we call migrations. Yeah, I think it's that way. Or only, I think I'll only call Prisma. That's better to make sure that I don't miss anything. Anyway, let's do it. Oh, did I put one folder behind? I hope not. No, apparently not. This will create a project for your console Prisma and requires to be authenticated. Would you like to authenticate? No. I need to authenticate to Prisma Postgres? No, no way. Can I just use this without authenticate? Can I just use the client? Okay. Let's see if I can just generate them. Alright. I'll just delete. Okay, apparently that worked. Yep, so I don't need to init with the dash dash db because I want to use a local DB for now. Oh, that's nice. Prisma dev to start a local Prisma Postgres server. Okay, so the file that was created is this one. I'll be reading and learning about this and probably will try to teach you guys about this. All right, this thing we don't touch. Data source DB. I remember getting into the documentation, at least this one I saved. Let me just comment this out. I can't. So we're gonna be using this DAPDB. All right. Now, the cool part is just like we just set our types here for our car, right? So with this little guy here, I'll be putting it here because we pretty much have our model car. Remember what that I called model? The idea will be creating our model here for Prisma. Um, and then we're gonna be dealing a little bit with the, how can I say, database notation? Is that what I can call? I don't know, honestly. Oh, yeah, that's correct. Come on, man. Really, there are ways to do it easily. I'm just tired. So anyway, now that I put this here, I think that is correct. So this is the notation, and we don't need to do this very often, all right? Usually it's to do with the database, and that way we kind of don't need to um, say to our database or deal with queries saying, hey, I need to deal with this kind of data, or I need to create this or that. Usually in other languages is a little bit easier. Um, it's the full, and then this one would be auto increment. So what I'm doing here is pretty much doing SQL and say ID will be my auto increment. I think I actually ID will just put as int, and then I'll change here on our types instead of string would be int number. I think it's just better. All right. So with this, we have our model that is a string. That's fine. Um, we have our ear that should be an int. Int. Not sure about this one, but we're gonna get there. The rating is gonna be a float. All right, for sale, continuous boolean, just need to be B, capital B, and this one becomes date time. And we can add this at the full called the function now for the database. So every time that a new record is created, we don't need to provide this. It will automatically provide with the date that was inserted into the database. And for ID, it will auto increment alone. So every time we insert something, will be ID1, ID2, ID3, and so on. All right. Um, so we have here, we have model color. Yeah, add color maybe. Yeah, color would be great to have a little bit of more data. So this is a string, and we need to reflect this here as well, with color exactly being a string. All right, we have those two uh, important changes. Just let me delete my package lock JSON because I like to use yarn. All right, so I'm just running yarn to fix and install every single dependency that I have. Also, the Prisma created an env here that is just like a local host database that I can run. Apparently, I can just run and will run some kind of local thing. Oh, that's cool. Prisma Dev probably will send us to, I don't know if we'll run locally or not, but we're going to be saving on files. So honestly, we don't care. All right. So this part is pretty much done. I don't think we need to do anything else for this little guy. Do I need to build anything? Let me have a look here. Nice. Yep, so they will show this to you how to deal with ID, default, auto increment. Did I add default auto increment or just increment? ID default auto increment, yep. Delete that, to be. Oh, this is limitation for the field. Okay, let's create our first migration. Mm? Auto increment. Oh, it needs to be a function. Sometimes the error is like, oh, expected an int but found in auto increment. What that means. I hope it's that. Yep. So I just executed the npx prisma migrate dev dash dash name init probably will generate some kind of file. Prisma. Oh yeah, let me update this. So yeah, you can see that created a migration here, and my create table is finally here, as you can see. All right, and there's some kind of functions here. So with this, I can pretty much migrate this to any kind of database that I want, not only this file that I just created here. All right. So far we have our database created. We have our env that honestly we don't need. We have our Prisma that we can pretty much ignore this runtime here. That this one I think is to run the database. Yeah, it's to run. Yeah, something I don't know. I'll not deep dive into this. And this is our migration. Every time we execute to save the database, it will create something here different, and we'll keep the last backups. All right. This is one of the cool parts of using ORM systems. All right. Querying to the database. We're gonna get there. I don't think I'll play around with this right now because we're gonna be dealing with the generated data. So let me have a look at what we have here. Okay, I'll try to, for today, create a car into our database, but let's see if this works. Why you are not working if I have yarn installed? It will ask me to use npm. Yep, but I have the types already, bro. Oh, told you. Okay, you can complain. I'll fix this later. Probably some kind of. So, okay. Um, Now we're gonna be dealing with our service. We created a lot, a lot. Uh, install. It's installing something. Should say that is up to date, but okay, go for it. Anyway, so now we're gonna go for our services a little bit, and as soon as we have our types, I'll be creating a car service. Uh, where we're gonna be pretty much inserting and removing data from the database, and also all the business rules should be living here. And the reason for that is anytime you need to change a business rule will be here. Sometimes will be in a commons folder, whether you need to apply the same rule for um, other functions or services, but we can discuss this later as well. I think you guys remember that we always start with export. Of course, we need to import a few things. So two things that we're going to be importing uh, is the first one is the car, all right? And even brought here by your IntelliSense, all right? Car or domain from domain types, all right? Um, Come on, bro. No, I know Copilot, you want to help. Okay, Prisma client, that's important. Let me just check if this is the correct one. Yeah, do we have this settled? Yeah. Oh, we can set this later for us as well. So we can just use the at. But anyway. Um, so come on, man. Stop correcting me. No, I'm not gonna accept that, bro. Sorry, but I'm gonna type myself. Um, so we just created pretty much um, our new instance of our client. This pretty much is our ticket to talk to our database, right? And Prisma will be the one dealing with this for us. So we got our car. We have our car already. Um, our idea is to be dealing with cars and saving them into the database. So the first one will be export. I'll not create a class, bro. Not be dealing with class. Come on, chill. Um, we're gonna create kind of a function for our create car. All right, and this will allow us to call this as a function. All right, so will be export this constant create car. So those functions here, they are called constant because everything is kind of a variable in OJS. I'll not be explaining that because I also don't know. So everything, if you took the training, everything in Node.js is pretty much a sync. So we are creating a sync function and we are passing our variable called car, all right? And its type is car, all right? That we just brought from here. And we're gonna be returning, all right, we need to pay attention here because this is a little bit tricky. We're gonna be returning a promise. It is correct, bro, of a car. All right. And then we're gonna transform this in a function. This arrow is called arrow function. It means that we don't need to explicitly say that we are creating a function. All right. This is just saying, hey, everything inside here is a function that will be created inside the create car. All right. With that, come on, man. Let's return a value. Same car. But I'm returning a promise of a car. That's correct. It should be. Anyway, um, what you're gonna do, it's pretty much receive the car and return. I will do a return. I'll actually, instead of do return and do everything in line, usually we're gonna create a const new car. It's exactly what you're saying there, bro. I'll wait. Prisma. Pon not Ponto. Ponto is Portuguese. Dot car. Dot create. So how do we know that is dot car dot create? All right. Can I let me finish to type here and then we're gonna be doing this. So the data that is gonna this is gonna be always the same, all right? So the data that is gonna be receiving, it's pretty much um car. I think I would say, can I do that? I think yeah, I can do that. Car. And that's it. Jesus, this thing of new, it's a thing of OOP languages. So what I did here, and I'll just fix this in a second, is saying get everything from car and put inside data, because what I don't want to do is be doing exactly this: model, car, year, color, color, rating, car, rating. So instead of doing this, as remember that I made sure that my types here are the same with Prisma. One, this is what makes sure that um, I am creating the right thing. So you don't need to do this conversion. It can be just like this. I don't remember the name of this, but yeah, anyway. So let me just try neither define or void. Oh, it must return a value. Okay, we didn't return anything, so that's why it's complaining. So we can just return a new car. How cool is it? It should insert into our database, right? Let me um, just to play around a little bit. Um, let me see if I can put this into index so we can uh, play around a little bit. Uh, yeah, create car from car service, and then I'll just create a simple car, um, const car. Hmm, okay, that's cool. Okay, this new date will be created by uh, the database itself. And okay, this is just like to play around a little bit. What you were expecting? Oh, it's missing two stuff: ID and create apt. Um, do you remember that on our database we were dealing with the auto increment and the fill date now? We're gonna have a problem here when we start dealing with data, because the database should be the one. I'll be eating a little bit because I'm starving, guys. I'm sorry, but the database should be the one dealing with the auto increment here. I don't want to do it programmatically, because thinking about the amount of services or concurrent services that we'll be dealing, I want the database to create and manage this for me, and not my system, right? So we will need to create an input type of data. What that means, let's think that you went to a restaurant. You don't want the restaurant to serve you with raw meat. You want the restaurant to cook your meat first. So for that, we will need to create other kind of type. And this kind of type, let's call it, I don't know, car input. I'll put up here a little bit. Oh, this needs to be on type, sorry. Um, export. Jeez, you are listening to me. Interface, but I'll call it only car input. All right, and for that, um, should be fairly simple. We're gonna have our model, right? That should be a string. We're gonna have our color. Yes, Copilot, I'm ignoring you because I can. Or here this time I will let you do, and you're bringing the rating. For sale, yeah, for sale, Boolean for now. Okay, but I went to play around with this. What else we have for sale? Rating, color, year, model. Yep, thank you for that. Okay, we have our interface now. So we can change this. Let's get, let me save this. Let me save, oh, why did they save this? There's something, no, it didn't change anything. Let me close this because I don't need. So inside my car service, not my car service, sorry. Inside my index, I will create a car, but this car should be of type car input. And you can see uh, that here it was even complaining about something. I don't know what it is. But anyway, uh, and I need to import my type car input. I, yeah, quick fix would fix you. But I can just do on my type, sorry. Import car input. It's not on mod. It is on service. Domain types. Yep. So we have our car input here. You can see that is even complaining about the make because we don't have make there, right? So I'm just removing. And also it is complaining here that we don't have the argument car input cannot be inserted of type car. So we need to change this as well. So our car here becomes a car input, and we're gonna be returning a car. Why that? Car input will not have the types we created for ID, for example, and created at. But after creating on the database, we're going to return this with the proper ID and with the proper created at. Right? Does that make sense? I hope so. So let's start our server yarn install. Do we need to build? I hope it will not break anything. We don't have Webpack anymore. So I need to create a build then. Can I install Nodemon? Nodemon would help a lot. Okay, this is even better. Okay, yarn, that should be enough because we don't have Webpack. All right. Yes, I'll be lazy. Build. The TSC should be enough. No. Huh, surely works. Let's see if this works. No, oh, sorry. Why is not allowing me to do this? It's weird. Alright. It's complaining about Prisma Generate. Now are you complaining about, bro? I mean, I'm. Alright, time to try to understand what is happening here. This is the generated one. It should be like this, right? Where's the website? From generated Prisma. Yeah, Prisma from Prisma client. I'll get you from the Prisma. Nah, wait. Are you directing? Yeah, you are. Do I need to reference my Prisma schema somewhere? Probably here. Generator client output.prisma. Don't need an output. I'll pause a little bit, guys. Okay, ladies. Um, I'm back just to finish this one. What I'm gonna be doing now is just like, yes, I was using GPT help to help me with the package JSON. So I deleted again my node modules just to play around. And there are a few things that I'll be changing on the scripts, but it's because we generated, so it will be just easier. Oh, Michael, but how those scripts are generated? Let me explain a little bit. Usually, when you are running a command, for example, TSC. TSC is for TypeScript something, which means that you're gonna be building, and usually you're gonna be running like yarn run tsc. Usually yarn tsc, that is the command. Yarn is the command to activate node, npm, or the packages that you have installed. And the tsc is the package that is installed, that is the command, which is pretty much similar to when you start Python and execute something. So instead of be typing yarn tsc all the time, we create, for example, build, and then we can put this. And sometimes we can even execute more than one command, like this one. We're executing nodemon execution, and then TypeScript node that will convert or TypeScript and will be pointing to be watching or source. And we're going to be installing nodemon as well. I have those dependencies already. Um, Another thing that will be changing is our dive dependencies. So I'll be adding nodemon to it. I have the dive dependencies. So this one is the equivalent to, for example, yarn minus d, yarn install minus d for dive dependencies. uh, the nodemon. All right, this is equivalent to it. So the only thing that I'm doing is just adding nodemon straight away here. All right. So there are two ways we can add nodemon config. This is pretty much a thing that exists already out there. You can pretty much copy and paste and just change to points to your initializer file, that is your executable file. In our case, is our index where everything starts, where our server is exported. All right. So with this config, we can pretty much, I think, we can pretty much start. Let me see. Do we need to add any kind of delay or node env? I'll just add, just in case, um, the environment development. So this is just, oh, you have it already. Even better. Thanks, bro. This is just to tell Node.js that we are running inside the development environment. All right. So with this, we have already a bunch of stuff. I will run again yarn install to install everything I have. So you'll see that Prisma will be installed again, that Express will be installed again, everything will be installed again. But so far, the only two stuff that we are using so far is just Express and Prisma, which means that when this goes to production, we're not gonna have those stuff running. TypeScript is only for development. When it's converted, it will be only Prisma and Express, which makes our server extremely small. So let's try with yarn build. Probably it's gonna fail because of Prisma. Oh no, actually yarn build worked, which is good. Let's try with yarn Prisma generate to regenerate our database. Oh yeah, generated our database correctly, which is cool. Let me just delete the DB and regenerate again just in case. Let me see if it generates the DB as well. No, the DB is not generated. Okay. Let's create the migrate. I don't know what is the studio is. So it's our migration. Probably a new one was created. Migrations. Oh, probably created a folder called migrations. Oh no, created on init. Kept on init. Okay, that's fine. Oh, this one is to apply actually, not to generate. That's cool. Let me see the Yarn Studio. Prisma Studio. I don't know what it is. Man, this is fun. Okay, I'll keep it running. I'll keep it running. This is better than I thought. You can run Yarn Prisma Studio and we'll run the Prisma. That's cool. Okay, I'll just start a new terminal then. And let's try Yarn Dev Watch, which means that we'll be watching every change we do. So as we created on init, yep, it worked straight away. As we created on init, a new car was created. You can see that ID1 was applied, and the create date reflects the date now, 806, 1908. Yeah, apparently is not considering the summertime. Yep. So if we change anything on our code and it will restart automatically. Let me show you. If I type enter Control S, it will restart. Should create a new car, I think. No, it didn't change anything. Why, bro? You're not watching server? Let me see my package JSON. Yeah, it's watching on source. All the extensions on TS, JS, and JSON. Maybe like this. But let's try again. It should create car number 2 now. Yep, car number 2. And our database should show now. Let me see if it's there. Can update. Man, this is so cool. So we have our car number 1, we have Corolla, we have color A, year 2020, rated 4.5, and for sale is true and was created at. Later we can play around with unique for cars type, for example, and we can even deal a little bit with the um, inheritance because we don't need to be repeating. Maybe the model is fine, but other stuff might not be repeatable. Anyway, can I delete here? I can delete. That's so cool, man. It will create number 3. Let's see. Or will stay number 2. Yeah, number 3. That's the correct way. It should ignore number 2. Yep. So I think will be this for today. I'll be uploading this to Git now. If you guys have any questions, you guys can comment. Just let me know. All right. Um, day plus database connection. All right. Um, I'll not be uploading the DB because I want you guys to be playing around with it. So this one I'll discard the change. Webpacks long gone. Probably might be other files that I forgot to delete. Oh yeah, let me add the other extensions that I don't have. Should be quick. Undev container. So we have ScullyDraw. This one is awesome. You guys need to have. I'll put in dev container. Oh, ScullyDraw is here already. IntelliSense is important. So what I'm doing right now is it will install automatically the extensions uh, for you guys when you start. Free tier, I think it's there already. Yeah, known modules IntelliSense, JavaScript and TypeScript nightly. Don't need to be the nightly, but it's fine. Oops. All right. What else? GitLance should be there already. Yes. Lint is there already. Yep. Should be this. Ask me to rebuild. I don't need to rebuild. It was asking me to install container tools. Yeah, container tools should be interesting to have in VS Code containers. That's it. Should be enough. I'll add everybody, including you, bro. Okay, go for it. It might fail because yes, can run git fetch. It's fine. All right, should be on Git now. I will stop here. If you guys have any questions, send me on WhatsApp. All right, or send me any other way. I don't know, a smoke sign or anything. I'll answer somehow. All right, love you guys. See you around.